Hello and welcome to episode 61 of NF Show, NF Magazine's weekly podcast. This week's episode is called Direct Distillation because we have so much news to talk about from the unusually large Nintendo Direct that occurred last week on April 1st, April Fool's Day for those of us in North America, and on April 2nd elsewhere in other time zones. But whoa, it was an excellent Nintendo Direct. And we're going to, of course, be talking about the highlights. We have some new pieces of information that me and my co-host made incorrect predictions about, such as Splatoon's release date, Yoshi's Woolly World release date, maybe even Star Fox's release date's in there. New fighters are coming to Super Smash Bros. And, of course, there's new amiibo news, which was just mind-boggling in an aftermath after that. I have to talk about that personally. I'm going to be your host in this episode. My name is Noah, and my co-host previously mentioned is the wonderful Mr. Evan.
Yep, I'm in the passenger seat, just cruising along.
Or the sidecar, potentially.
I'll take sidecar.
It's like Mad Max, maybe.
I was thinking more of Indiana Jones and his father when he's got the car on the motorcycle. So.
Yes. If you have not gotten in your year 3 subscription to NF Magazine yet because you missed the Kickstarter or whatever, you can still subscribe. You can go over to the website nfmagazine.com. We have so many posters coming in the upcoming issues. If you're getting the print edition of the magazine, you can still purchase that. Or you can go all digital, or you can do a mix of both, and you can have the best of both worlds, digital and print. So go over and check that out. If you have any comments or feedback on this episode, please send them into show@nfmagazine.com if you're one that has a taste for email, or you can leave us a comment below this video over here on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/nfmagazine, and then we're also on Twitter, but we're going to save that for the end to give you something to look forward to if you don't know that already. But yes, we have those to get into as well. Before we get into talking about the April Fool's Nintendo Direct, it really happened, I promise. We're going to quickly do a flyover of our Nintendo game experiences from the last week. Evan, you have got a new, I guess a new downloadable game, yet another new concept coming direct from Nintendo out of nowhere, brand new idea. What do you think of it so far? What is it?
Well, it's great, and it kind of ties into our Nintendo Direct because the release date was announced there and then it became available on Thursday. And also, I'm very disappointed you haven't played this because word around the street, and I can attest for this, is it's basically like the new Pushmo.
Really? So you think because of that, that's why I would get that game?
Yeah, definitely. Everyone loves Pushmo. Crashmo, but Pushmo... Crashmo is so disappointing.
You've let us know that before.
But Box Boy, $5 right now in the North American eShop from HAL Laboratories. And you know, I'm not necessarily like a huge HAL fan of that developer or anything with the Kirby games and whatnot. But this is just
Smash
like
Brothers.
Well, yeah, obviously, but that's Sakurai. I mean, HAL's helped somewhat, but they haven't really been behind it since the GameCube version, even though that's my favorite version. But anyway, I digress. Box Boy, going with the title of this episode, it's just a distillation of really cool platforming concept where you are a box. It's very like primitive graphics, but it's got cute animations. And you can basically spawn additional boxes. And each level kind of has a restriction on how many you can create. And HAL Laboratories does a great job with this. At first, it just seems like, oh, you're making boxes to create like a step to get to a higher platform or as a bridge to cross a massive chasm. But it opens up so quickly and in so many unique ways where, oh, you can make a hook from the top of your head to jump on a platform, and then you can actually, like, not teleport, but maneuver across those boxes to get there. And they just do these, like, subtle spins on this one unique ability, and it's ingenious. It's really, really cool.
It feels like, well, it looks like a perfect example of a Nintendo game in that it takes a really simple gameplay concept and then just blows it out and uses it every which way to create a whole game around it. And it almost puts the gameplay first. In fact, when I was looking at it, it kind of reminded me, I don't think it would be out of place and the art style series, in that it's got such a distinctly minimalist art aesthetic.
Yeah, I could see that, but I feel like one big difference between the art style games, when I always think about them, there isn't necessarily like a mascot or character that you're directly controlling. It's more abstract puzzle type games in a lot of ways. While this is very much a traditional platform in that sense, but it really is. It's like you said. I'm trying to think of the term. I feel like Miyamoto's been bringing this up a lot, and there was a really good YouTube video about Super Mario Galaxy, or no, Super Mario 3D World. It's basically the term for like the four comic panel, where you basically like introduce a concept, you show how to do it, then you
Hmm.
like twist it, and then you have like a master, and it's like how Miyamoto's been describing how they do like the Mario series and how they introduce new concepts and everything. And I think that you hit the nail on the head there. There's a lot of similarities to that. But I am just I am in awe. It really is some just fantastic level design. And the music, I haven't seen people talking about the music. The music is superb. Like really dig the soundtrack. And then they just, even though it does have that minimalistic visual design, Noah, they throw in these cutesy. I talked about the animations. Like you can buy different costumes per se, and one of the first one is a rapper boy. So he's got like glasses and a hat and kind of beats along a little more to it and going like that, and it's adorable. But it's also just really cool. It's right up your alley, and I feel like a lot of people will be surprised at how clever this game is.
I'm still taking a wait and see approach on it, but I'm looking forward to hearing more reactions from you. Now, speaking of that, you played the Codename Steam demo, didn't you?
Yeah, I played about 2 hours.
I've put in about 45 minutes so far, so that's what I wanted to talk about for my game time session. And I went into this a little bit apprehensive because when I first heard about it at E3 last year, it had its own special little reveal session outside the arena of E3's show floor. And I just thought it was kind of a, huh? What is this? Wow, it's such a different art style. This is coming from Intelligent Systems. It's just like, wow, it's cool. It's so weird. It's such a
And
weird mashup.
And it looks so bad on internet videos blown up, and then you see it on the 3DS screen. I don't know if this is how you felt, but I definitely felt, and I was like, oh, this looks really good actually on a handheld.
Yeah, it looks fantastic on the 3DS screen. And the opening sequence, which is a mesh, it's a combination of animation and comic book panels coming to life and things going in and out of the comic book panels and the camera jumping out of the panel and going to the next one. I just ate that up. I thought it was great, and just a lot of detail, attention to detail you can see in those opening panels where they've come up with these inventions of weird vehicles that people are using, and the way that traffic and airships are flying around, and the way that architecture is impacted, and cleverly integrating in names and times as letters floating in the environment. Just really cool stuff. And going through the back of my mind this whole time is it's not going to be good. I'm not going to like it. The reviews have all been mediocre for this game. But I was also thinking that if the one of the main complaints of the game, which was waiting for the enemy's turn, if that's going to be patched here
Hmm.
soon, maybe it won't be so bad. But what I've experienced so far, now granted it is very early, it's the opening tutorial levels, I've really liked it. I think it's really cool, and I'm glad that I waited to play it on my new 3DS XL because using the analog nub to move around, to look around and survey
Right.
the area, very smooth, works really well. But sure enough, it is the waiting for the enemies to do stuff. It's really it's a bummer because so often the game teaches you right from the get-go, move along and then hide somewhere so that if the aliens are moving around, they are less likely to see you and attack you during their turn. So when you get into position in these hiding positions, that's your viewpoint while the aliens are taking their turns. And so more often than not, it's the game's trying to give you a chance of seeing where the aliens are moving around and if they're getting closer or not, or if they're just standing still. You can't see anything because you position yourself behind a box, and so you're just sitting there waiting for the timer to tick out, and the characters will kind of look back and forth and track things but you don't know what they're looking at. You're just seeing it pan back and forth across a box or a pile of boxes because the characters kind of have a gut instinct or they're hearing the sounds of the aliens moving and they know where they're at, but you can't see anything, so it doesn't do any benefit. But so far, I love this mashup of historical figures and fictional figures. So I'm going to keep playing through the demo, which, thanks to Seventh Experiment, one of our audience members, I know it's quite meaty. And I'm going to see how far I can go. I might end up getting it with as much as I like it so far, but who knows? Maybe more of the flaws that I read about will rise to the surface. But so far, really good music. The music was like stuck in my head. This mix of fantastical, sweeping symphonic soundtrack and then some hard rock guitars coming in during the battle sequences. It's all really cool, really nifty little game, and I'm hoping that it will actually live up to my initial, oh, that's kind of sweet reaction that I had last year. We'll see.
I really enjoyed the demo. I didn't really have too much negative. The enemy turns is definitely a divisive issue, and like you said, I wish there was a speed up button. And crazy enough, there actually is going to be one, which I feel like is very un-Nintendo like,
So
or
much
just
so.
or just showing like Nintendo finally getting in gear with the ability to patch games and everything. I mean, I know that we saw it with like Mario Kart 7, they would patch out exploits, and we're seeing it with Mario Kart 8, but to see such a negative issue addressed so soon after game releases, I mean, it hasn't even been out in North America for more than a month, and they're already getting to
Yeah.
that, which is really cool.
And I also feel it's kind of, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I feel it's one of those rare admissions by a Nintendo developer that, hey, you know what? We kind of screwed this up. We're going to fix it. I, I feel that there's a lot of pride and confidence in Nintendo and how they market and show and release their games. And it's kind of, it is what it is. And it's not going to get patched. It's not going to get fixed because we've spent so many hours and months on this, perfecting it and fine tuning it and testing it, and to actually implicitly say, we messed this up, we should have taken care of this, we're going to take care of it now, and address one of the biggest complaints that we saw in our reviews. That's a that feels tonally like a big shift in Nintendo's public stance. Now, whether if this is just a one-off or somebody in intelligence systems like,
Yeah,
we've got to fix this,
that's
remains
what
to be
I worry.
seen. But it is nice to have seen it happen at least once.
Yeah, I worry it might be just intelligent systems being the perfectionist or whatever, but I hope it's an overall company shift. I mean, games, whether people like it or not, are becoming more like services where they are being updated and tweaked and tuned in this day and age. And we're seeing it with Codename Steam, I feel like in a very positive way, but at the same time, it's like Captain Toad, they patched in the like amiibo support and everything, I feel like, after the fact, but they didn't do the toggle where you could get rid of the stupid gamepad. I want to say
Camera,
accelerometer, but that's
camera
well,
controls, yeah, it's
yeah,
accelerometer.
yeah, where you're actually you can't turn off the moving the gamepad or whatever, which is frustrating. You should be able to toggle that on and off. So there's little things like that, but this is a good first step, and hopefully it foreshadows more of these great fixes coming down the road for Nintendo games.
Now let's dive into the Nintendo Direct that happened last week. Of course, just a couple days after we recorded last week's episode, just came out of the blue, and it was 48 minutes long. I thought, surely that's not going to be all that much content. Surely just a couple months before before E3, and with everything that Nintendo's going to probably want to show at E3, is there going to be a direct shortly before E3? Are we going to have another media briefing or direct presentation, or what was it, a digital event, as it was called last year?
I'm guessing we get a digital event.
Oh yeah, we didn't
It
talk
went.
about it in our predictions episode, and I was reading about that today. I'm like, oh, Evan and we didn't talk about that, but I am
Oh, it's a
completely
digital
with
event.
you in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, I'm glad you brought up E3. It's crazy that we're what 2 months away, and Nintendo's obviously getting their cards stacked for the show. The Zelda delay news one week, this direct the next week, and now there might be like a Splatoon specific or mini direct, but I think now it's kind of just waiting for the actual storm of E3 to come.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, and I'm sure it's true for a lot of you out there, I'm already starting to feel the E3 fever and anticipation. And thank goodness that Nintendo does these directs and gives us these big chunks of news throughout the year intermittently, because it used to be we were just waiting until E3 and then nothing would happen for an entire year back in the olden days when Evan and I were just little children. Actually, I think Evan was a little child for longer than I was because there is a bit of an age difference between us. But yeah, so we have these directs. Let's talk about this one. First up, right at the beginning, Mewtwo was revealed as not only a character that people who have purchased both versions of Smash Brothers on Wii U and 3DS would get, but also a character that everybody could get coming up. And the character will be arriving on April 28th. But then that wasn't all. There is another character, and we had been told, I think Sakurai had even gone on the record saying, Mewtwo is the only extra DLC character we're going to add. We're not going to keep trying to rebalance the roster and retest everything. It takes so much time. It's so complex, making sure some characters not out of balance with others. But there's another one coming besides Mewtwo, and it's actually an Earthbound character. It's Lucas is coming, and not the editor-in-chief and founder of NF Magazine. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? But the Earthbound character, Lucas, who was in previous Smash Brothers episodes. So, Evan, I wanted to hear what your reaction was to this news. We didn't actually get to talk as much like we have done in previous months about this direct, and I don't know what you thought about Lucas being added.
I think it's awesome. Lucas obviously he's been in Brawl for Wii. He kind of was Ness's replacement for that game. But the game that he actually stars in, Mother 3 or Earthbound 3, it'd probably be Earthbound 2 here, though. That's kind of confusing. But anyway, the Mother Earthbound series, that game has never released in North America, which makes it sort of surprising that that's the second character that they're bringing to Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U. But yeah, Sakurai, it made you wonder, would he not be directing the DLC? But this idea that Mewtwo would be the only DLC character just seems... I mean, I guess Nintendo didn't do Super Mario 3D World DLC or Link Between Worlds, but it was just like, this game is... Just keep adding to it. We've talked about in the past how it'd be cool if you started with just kind of a base version at the beginning of a console generation and adding to it and everything. And it's just really cool to see that Lucas is coming, and not only that, it looks like we're going to be getting support for this game for, I would say, years to come, because we got the Nintendo fan submissions where they want to hear who you want included in this new Super Smash Brothers game as DLC, and that's really exciting.
That is really exciting. I wonder how long it will last. The Skeptic came out, and yeah, at first my first reaction was, this is so cool. They're actually going to make people feel like they're empowered to help drive what additional characters are coming to Super Smash Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if we're going to really get any concrete proof that the people's voice or votes really drove that or not, or if they will say, well, 3 billion people asked for this character and 2 billion people asked for this character and 100,000 asked for this character that we were already planning on putting in. Yay! Confirmation for that. I'm hoping, my fingers are crossed, that it's an ongoing thing and this isn't, and we're just adding 2 more characters. I really do hope that this goes on for a year, 2 years more, and we get another 6 characters added. I mean, how many, Evan, if you were to guess, how many more characters beyond Lucas and Mewtwo do you think will be added to the roster? What's your prediction or guess?
I'd like to think 4 or 5. I'm guessing it depends on how the DLC does and how the fighting community kind of responds to this. But if Lucas is coming in the summer, it sounds like they're doing a character probably 1 every 3 months. That's kind of the development schedule they've got going on, 1 every 3 to 4 months. So that could be 3, 4 characters a year. And you would hope that this would go on throughout next year, because I think the submission process ends, like October 3rd? So there's quite some time for people to submit their votes.
And who would you vote, or have you already voted for, to join the roster, Evan?
I haven't voted, but I should. Professor Layton, of course.
Yes! That's awesome. That's a great choice. My first reaction was something that I was asking for, and I doubt would happen, but it would be Bayonetta. I would love to see Bayonetta in there. But since Samus has her stupid, super-powered high heels, what's Bayonetta going to do?
I hope
But
Bayonetta would be cool. Simon Belmont would be pretty cool.
oh yeah, you know, and Lucas is almost a precursor to Belmont because he has kind of a whip-like snake that he can use. I wasn't too excited for Lucas or Mewtwo. They're both characters that I barely played at all in previous iterations, and it's just I never really got into. But that the door is open for other characters that could be incredible. I mean, Microsoft was trolling us saying like, "Hey, geez, why don't you put Banjo-Kazooie in your game? We don't have any problem." That's not gonna happen.
I
No,
think it's cool though that the Xbox head Phil Spencer said that,
it
and well, I
was,
mean,
it
of
was.
course, it'd be free marketing for them to bring Banjo back, especially if they have a game in development or doing something with Banjo like they are with Conquer. But that'd be really cool if Nintendo and Microsoft worked on that. I don't see that happening anytime soon, but you never know. But it's just the possibilities are basically endless, which I
Yeah.
think is very exciting. Will Nintendo give Waluigi his time in the spotlight finally? Will he get to be a fighter? He's relegated basically to the tennis
Support
games.
character.
Does he even show up in the golf games? I guess so. The Camelot
Yeah.
develops sports games, but other than that, Nintendo's very like doesn't like to acknowledge Waluigi.
Poor Waluigi.
What about Toad?
Yep.
Captain
Oh,
Toad.
Captain Toad. That
He
would be
can't
pretty
jump.
cool. Or make
So
them like the new Ice Climbers, Toad, Captain Toad, and Toadette together.
I'm sure people are going to be demanding ice climbers, but I think the 3DS was kind of the problem there. I, there's so many. I'll be very upset if Slippy makes it in. I hate that stupid Star Fox character.
Yeah, any of the remaining Star Fox characters, none of them should be added in. It's bad enough that both Falco and Star Fox are in there. I don't really like both of them being in there. No more. No more Star Fox characters.
I
Star Fox
love
levels are cool, but no characters.
and I love all. Obviously, there's some indie developers that are pushing, like Jules and Renegade Kid would love to see Max from Mute Muds. WayForward would love to see Shantae,
Yeah.
which would be really cool. And I feel like I'm leaving out another big Nintendo indie character. But then there's the other ones, like I think Team Meat's like, let's get Meat Boy in there, and it's like you never supported a Nintendo platform, yet you want your you want free marketing for your game. Like that stuff drives me nuts. Like it's one thing to have your character on these platforms, but it's another to just obviously be wanting free marketing. And I get why you don't support Wii U or 3DS. I can understand the financial reasons, but that's kind of frustrates me.
Well, and I also don't think that Isaac's going to be making it in either from Golden Sun or from Binding of Isaac. No Isaacs whatsoever.
But Binding of Isaac's coming to new 3DS, which is really great, and Wii U,
Yeah.
I think. Was it Wii U too?
It was announced for both, but the last I saw a headline and I might have misread. I was reading pretty quickly that it was just new 3DS XL it's coming to.
Yeah, but I think it's coming to Wii U as well.
Cool.
Which, either way, if it's just coming to new 3DS and we're getting our wires mixed, I'm just happy the Binding of Isaac's finally coming. I feel like we've heard about that for years coming to Nintendo platforms, and that's something that wasn't part of the Nintendo Direct, but is really cool.
Yeah, so much news. One last bit of Smash Brothers news. I don't know how much this matters to you, Evan, but there will be additional Mii Fighter costumes being added as DLC so that you can gussy up your Mii Fighters and Mega Man and
The
Proto
Mega
Man
Man
type.
X costume is awesome.
Yes.
It's so
Yes.
awesome. This is brilliant, and Nintendo's charging what, like $1 a pop for these?
Yeah. Yeah, $1 for a clothing change, but hey, I have seen costumes used for other systems avatars that were much more expensive. So,
Oh yeah, I'm just saying it's always intriguing to me to see Nintendo's kind of DLC policies and how they're adapting or falling in line, which has kind of been the norm for the past almost half decade in other places, and we're seeing it. But don't get me wrong, Smash Brothers is packed full of so much content for the entry price. Like if they're gonna I don't know if I'd call this nickel and diming because this isn't crucial content. This is
no.
Mii Fighter costumes or whatever, but it's just interesting to see that kind of being introduced to the series and everything. So, but yeah, the Mega Man X costume is amazing. A Professor Layton costume once again would be amazing.
Yes. Oh my gosh, to have a little top hat, that would be awesome. All right. Speaking of things that you can download onto your Wii U, finally, Finally, Nintendo 64 games and DS games are coming to Wii U's Virtual Console. DS games in particular, in this host's opinion, long overdue on Wii U. Wii U is a perfect system for that. Now, granted, I'm sure there were a lot of intricacies to figure out in terms of, well, should it be the TV and the gamepad, or should everything be on the gamepad, or what do we do about vertical versus horizontal? It looks like they've thought a lot of that through, and we're going to be getting titles from both of those awesome systems on Wii U's Virtual Console a few years late, but finally coming in, and with some special tie-in bonuses where if you buy two, you get two, or something like that, right?
I'm not sure. I didn't see the promotions thing. I just know we got Super Mario 64 and Yoshi's Island DS, which I've never cared for Yoshi's Island DS, and I feel like it's a weird title to kind of introduce DS games, but okay.
They might be bringing out Yoshi because they want Yoshi in everybody's minds as they gear up for the release of the next Yoshi game that is also coming out later this year. I know this is later in the notes, but I'm going to bring it up now, Evan, because it's a decent segue. We finally got a release window for Yoshi's Woolly World. It's coming in the fall, as I recall.
Yeah.
And
comes in the summer, though. It's like June 26th in Europe, so they'll get it earlier.
Lucky. Every once in a while, Europe or Australia, frequently Japan, they will get something before us, and you can gloat and hold that over us, especially, oh my gosh, those knitted Yoshi amiibo. They're beyond what I could have hoped for. I was hoping that we would get a plastic amiibo for Yoshi's Woolly World that had the knitted texture. I did not think we'd actually get sweater knitted Yoshi in 3 different colors, and there's like a little amiibo chip on his bottom. It is the cutest amiibo. I don't know how big they are in comparison to standard amiibo. They seem like they would be maybe twice as big. That's my guess. But either way, I definitely want to get those, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get one. I don't need to get all of them. I just want one. And if that means having to get some kind of bundle deal to get Yoshi's Woolly World, I am all about it. I don't care. I will not let it slip past me like that dang Majora's Mask 3D Skull Kid set got past me. I feel like I could have gotten that, and I let it go by. These yarn Yoshis are not going past me. And in addition to that, the thing that I really wanted to talk about to Evan, because, well, let me give you a chance. Evan, would you be interested in a yarn Yoshi?
They're cute. Possibly. I've kind of sworn off amiibos after the latest debacle.
Okay. All right. Well, with that aside, I thought it was great that they took a moment to say, so hey, you know what? You could actually run this in classic mode, or you can run it in what I would call Kirby's Epic Yarn mode, which is easy. But in classic mode, apparently it's challenging. It's challenging like a regular Yoshi game is. Mm-hmm. And that may mean one thing or another to all of you. But I remember that
I'm not Evan buying it at all.
Just was not impressed with the challenge or the depth of Kirby's Epic Yarn, and it's news that I just wanted to throw at Evan, like, oh yeah, look at that, now it can be hard. Yoshi's Woolly World can be hard. What do you think about that, Evan? And you thought,
whatever. Sure. I don't hate Kirby's Epic Yarn, by the way. I just don't find it as amazing as other people do. It's just I played it in co-op. I'd rather play New Super Mario Brothers U or New Super Mario Brothers Wii in co-op. I think those are better co-op games.
Do you think we'll see one of those New Super Mario Brothers games this year at E3?
Yeah, not with Mario Maker.
Yeah, that's a good call. There've just been some rumors that I've been devouring on the internet talking about how there's going to be a new Mario game. A new Mario game has to come out. It's not coming out. I'm just like, I don't know about that.
I guess they could do a new Mario game. With Mario Maker and having a side scroller, it just feels like they're repeating. I mean, it's probably not a mistake. They both sold well, but New Super Mario Brothers 2 and U being like 3 months separated, it just felt like a little too much. And they didn't feel different enough because they used kind of the same aesthetic and everything. And I feel with Mario Maker, since it seems like you could build levels and actually build worlds and link them together and everything. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a campaign possibly included with that game anyway. why you'd release something else. But who knows? You never know. There could be a 3D Mario. There could not.
Hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if all things Mario or something really fancy Mario is being postponed until NX comes out and new gameplay concepts can materialize there. At any rate, another game that both of us are kind of looking forward to is Splatoon. And back in January, mid-January, we had our prediction show, and Evan predicted that Splatoon would come out in May with voice chat, and I predicted that it would come out in April without voice chat. And so we were both half wrong, but together we were right if we knew which part of our predictions were correct. So I think that's a draw. The game is going to come out at the very end of the month, even after Memorial Day weekend for those of us in the US. It's going to come out on May 29th, shortly before E3 even. And it's going to have its single-player campaign, and it's going to have its multiplayer campaign, and it's not going to have its voice chat, and it is going to have some really sweet amiibo also launching side by side with the game. 3 different amiibo. You have a boy Splatoon character, a girl Splatoon character, and a squid Splatoon character that you can buy individually, or you can buy in a 3-pack for maybe like $1 or $2 off if you were going to buy them individually.
It's our first 3-pack of amiibo as well.
Yeah, they've never been bundled before like this that I know. Yeah, they haven't ever been bundled before.
Mario is bundled with Mario Party 10. Yeah, but other than that, we haven't seen this kind of bundle, which is very... I don't think Skylanders does it necessarily, but Disney Infinity for sure kind of bundles their stuff together like this.
And I was so excited about this amiibo. And there was also more Wave 4 amiibo announced during this Nintendo Direct, and we got to see Palutena and Dark Pit and Ganondorf, all characters that I've been waiting for. And then we got a release date for Wave 4, and we got a release date for these other ones that are going to come out later in the year, in the summer. And then the retailer started jumping in and saying like, oh yeah, you can pre-order on this time, or you can pre-order over here. And it was all yet another colossal failure, perhaps the biggest one yet. I don't know. I'm a little bit emotional. It's a little bit personal. But I wanted to pre-order a bunch of those amiibo. I wanted to get the Splatoon ones. I still don't know if I wanted the 3-pack or just one. It doesn't matter because it didn't happen. And I wanted to order Robin for quite a while. I wanted to get Ganondorf. None of that happened. I want to get Jigglypuff. Couldn't even get Jigglypuff because Jigglypuff, for whatever reason, is a retailer exclusive. Which, what the heck is that all about?
What a debacle, though. You have GameStop saying they're going to have online pre-orders. They don't end up offering them. You have Toys R Us, I think, telling you that you're going to have pre-orders at some time midday, and they do them overnight. Which, a funny story, I think those went up at like 5 a.m. Eastern time, and I was having trouble sleeping and woke up at like 5:45. And I saw people posting the listings on Twitter before trying to fall back to sleep. And I was like, oh, maybe I could get one of these. And I saw Robin, and I was like, Robin looks kind of cool, but I'm not crazy about it. But I was like, I bet someone Noah would really appreciate it. And was like, oh, it's already sold out. It's 5:45 in the morning, and yet somehow this freaking amiibo is sold out. But yeah, I wanted Ness and when I found out it was a GameStop exclusive, I kind of already was like, I'm probably screwed because I'm not going to go walk into a store to pre-order a $12 figure. I was hoping, and I'm not trying to belittle anyone, but just personally, I was hoping my Mega Man one would pop up on Amazon. I'd click a button and be like, all right, I'll see you whenever you come out. Especially, you said GameStop hasn't been that great with communicating when they've actually gotten them or what's going on with them and everything. So GameStop said they were going to have them online. They didn't, and I was just kind of like, all right, whatever. Don't need Ness. I think the day before this happened, I tweeted oh, I might get a bunch more amiibo, but after I watched the meltdowns and everything else, I was like, I'm out. If I can get one, I'm randomly in a store, or it's available after it actually comes out, maybe I'll get one, but I'm so done with how this is playing out. It's just a mess.
Different if it were the very first set or the second set, but Nintendo's gotten a lot of coverage, a lot of revenue and profit from this. They know these are going to be popular. And then what does Nintendo of America, which I kind of put a lot of blame on Nintendo of America for this, because the majority of amiibo are being sold in North America. Nintendo of America should be doing a better job of managing this. And what do? Instead of, after all these horrible tweets and freakouts, like, I waited for 2 hours in line at GameStop and then everything was sold out by the time I got up to the computer system, or the computer system was down for an hour. And then Nintendo's like, hey, what amiibo are you going to get from Wave 4? Hey,
Yeah.
look at this amiibo cool stuff. And it's just the
Bad social media 101.
the foul-mouthed tweets that were being lobbed back,
Oh,
none of which came from me. I'll have you know, Nintendo of America, even though I'm criticizing you here. But I can't say I was very sympathetic to Nintendo of America in this case. Just like, really? You're just going to troll us here after all these people have freaked out and said, wow, I can't get in? Like, which ones are you going to get? Well, none of them, obviously, because they're already all sold out. And the one consolation I have is, in this new set, there should be some that are available for a while afterwards. I have no idea what those are. I hope they're ones that I want, like Pac-Man and Ganondorf and whatever.
I bet Pac-Man will be pretty common.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope, but now I'm kind of skeptical that any of it is, and it's just, they can only let this happen so many times before people are just, they don't care. They're not going to play the game. And what I feel like it's starting to turn into is the Wave 1 amiibo, which are still readily available, most of them, except for the ones like Villager and Wii Fit Trainer. I feel like Nintendo is releasing these extra sets on the side that I'll never ever see on store shelves, but I'll always see the Wave 1 ones. And then to me, that's what amiibo are going to become. They are going to just be the Wave 1 amiibo that are constantly available, and it's just going to lose all the novelty, and I'm not going to care about it because they're not going to bother to fulfill the demand or take a risk of putting more out there than maybe people want to buy. So, burn it out if you want. Chris Kohler wrote an excellent editorial about this over on Wired magazine, saying that Nintendo needs to deflate this bubble before, instead of letting it burst, the way that kind of what happened with Ty and Beanie Babies. That got huge, very much like this back in the 90s, and then everybody just burned out and said, no, forget it. Whereas Magic the Gathering tried to make sure that there couldn't be scalpers or this huge gray market coming out and just taking over everything. And that's a great business strategy to approach, especially if Nintendo wants this to truly be a long-lasting thing, trend, and not a fad that people just get angry on. They see amiibo and they just get angry. And I don't know, some of it also could be Nintendo probably didn't expect this because they knew as much as we knew, Evan, that there's not any really compelling functionality attached to these. They're like, these are really, at the end of the day, just glorified pieces of plastic. But North America gets so much less cool little trinkets and toys and figurines than Japan does, and I think that's one of the reasons why it doesn't sell as well in Japan. Japan's inundated with all sorts of little Mario statues and Kirby plushies and Yoshis and everything. North America doesn't hardly get any of that, so of course there's this insatiable appetite for it, even if the functionality is totally lame.
Well, yeah, and it's like Brett brought to our attention. Some of these characters have never had a figure before. Like, I think Fox McCloud, which just kind of blew my mind. And for Nintendo, like, retailer exclusives, people are like, who does that make happy? Well, it makes the retailer happy because it makes you go to their store, and Nintendo needs these retailers to be happy with them so they get more prominent products placing and get more retail shelving. There's a lot of reasons why there's retailer exclusives. But Nintendo, it's like NES. Everyone knows the Earthbound fan base in North America is just crazy. Crazy in a good way. They love their game. They want to see more. They want to see, like, Earthbound 3 be translated over. They want to see these characters. And you have NES, and you make him a retailer exclusive. And I'm sure when it's a retailer exclusive, there's much more limited quantities than if it's across the board available amiibo. And it's just like, to me, that was just like, there's people that are going to be dying to get the NES amiibo, and you're doing this, which just, and at the end of the day, for me, it's not the end of the world, but it's still just frustrating. And I can't imagine people that visit, starman.net every day, or just huge people that have fan translated to that. If you can't get your hands on that, that's just got to be demoralizing and just so upsetting.
And speaking of Brett, he definitely has some strong opinions and sadness about the situation. He has a comment later on in tonight's episode feedback, but we will be having him on the show soon so he can talk about it from his professional collector's opinion too. So look forward to hearing from Brett again on the show soon. Getting back to the news that we got from the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, happy stuff.
The what?
Happy stuff.
Yes.
You're kind of getting
Yeah, we got derailed there with the
with
amiibo. It had to happen. You knew it was going to happen, all right?
Yeah.
But we got to see some more information on upcoming games in the strategy RPG realm. Specifically, we got a fresh trailer and more story details on the new Fire Emblem game, which remains titleless in North America at least. It's just Fire Emblem. It will be
Fire Emblem,
I'm sure. But it looks...
Oh, hopefully it's not new Fire Emblem, like the new Mario series.
What if it were called Fire Emblem This or That?
Yeah, there's 2 versions in Japan, but it got delayed. I feel like it was 2015, and now all of a sudden it's 2016.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me. I thought for sure this game is coming out in 2015. What games are left to come out on 3DS in 2016? I was telling myself that when I was purchasing that new 3DS XL. She's like, why are you spending money on this? And I was like, well, I've got a backlog of games that I still have to play through. There aren't going to be any new games coming out after 2015, which is silly. I know there would be like a trickle. Maybe it'll be like the last year of Wii, where we got the Project Rainfall games came out, and there was just a few amazing RPGs, and really not any other content came out. But like those last few games were pretty sweet. I feel like that's kind of what next year's going to hold for 3DS. But it also kind of made me feel better about getting my new 3DS XL. It's like I'm guaranteed at least one really
good
probably
game next year
game that's going to come out.
I'm sure there's more.
Are you gonna be getting this new Fire Emblem game? Do you think?
Possibly. I still need to beat Awakening. I put 10 hours in, and then I need to go back to that. But it looks fantastic. I can't remember the guy who does the character design for these games, but he's back for Fire Emblem If. It may be pronounced something different, but that's the Japanese name. Is it If or If?
I don't know. It's irrelevant. It's this or that. It's Fire. Until they give it a title, it is Fire Emblem this or that, because you are allowed to choose. You belong to one society. Your bloodline connected to a country that's very peace-loving and friendly, but you're raised in the warmongering, glory-seeking.
It's Romeo and Juliet.
Country, and you basically have to choose which side you're going to do. Are you going to choose the people who are crushing all their civilizations, or the ones that are peace-loving hippies? I don't know. And it's this or that, Fire Emblem. And if you choose the peace-loving people, you have an easier game experience, apparently, and there's going to be more of a challenge if you do the glory-seeking, right?
I didn't hear
or is
that.
It the other way around?
You could be right. I just know that if you pick one, you are stuck to that storyline, and to open up the other one, it's DLC. I think that you have to pay for.
Okay, now that's ridiculous. I would just say start the game over, do New Game Plus, and
I think you're locked in. I don't think you can just start over.
Like acid is released inside the game card, and it permanently burns the chip.
Well, to be curious, I don't think they'll do this in North America, but in Japan, there's 2 different versions you buy.
It's like Pokemon.
Yeah, they're Pokemoning it.
Well, they can do that in Japan. I don't think that Fire Emblem is quite the awesomeness out here, or outside of Japan, that it is over there. But either way,
it's DLC.
Yeah, DLC would probably be a safe choice, but that's lame.
It's very interesting. I mean, Fire Emblem games have so much content once again, where it's really tough to tell. I'm not going to get like up in arms, but it's a very intriguing design decision that I feel like they're using there. I'll be curious to see. I'm sure it's going to be much different how it's presented and how it's available in North America. I can't wait to see how they and that may be why, because I think it's 2015 in Japan, right?
Yeah.
I think it's coming out this year in Japan, and that's probably part of the reason. Just figuring out all of these little factors and
shenanigans,
and its release and everything. But it looks great. It looks really a stunning game. The character designs are just out of this world.
And I think the characters have feet in this Fire Emblem game.
Maybe that's why it's actually going to take longer.
There's so many feet to attach to those character models. There's just so many characters, and there's all these shoes you have to take into account.
Shoe sizes,
The
colors.
animation of like the little feet running across the ground. Oh, yeah, look for it. Feet. It'll either be Fire Emblem this or that, or Fire Emblem feet. Foot fetish.
Feet. I'm sure they could do some cool spelling.
Yeah. FIIT.
Oh goodness.
I knew that Evan was going to even give me a curse laugh. All right. Speaking of Fire Emblem, we also got to see another game that just seemed to have vanished into the ether.
It's alive.
First, just like, here's this logo, and we're going to put an X in the middle of it. But yes, Shin Megami Tensei X Fire Emblem, or Fire Emblem X Shin Megami Tensei, I don't know. That we got an extended trailer that had all these bright colors and J-pop music going on.
And
it was
anime.
kind of like an anime intro mixed with video game gameplay, and I'm not really sure what was going on. Something that kind of stuck out to me, I'm not sure if you felt this way, Evan, but when I think of Shin Megami Tensei, or if I think of Fire Emblem, a very distinct visual design comes to mind, and the environments and the era that it looks like it takes place in. And for some reason, when I was first looking at it, I was thinking, like, maybe this is that game, but it wasn't immediately apparent to me because I don't feel that this new crossover game strongly looks like either one. It looks a little bit more modern and sci-fi. It looks like this.
It looks more Persona.
Yeah. It just
which is a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei, but Shin Megami Tensei, like the fourth installment, it's got like a darker, I don't want to say grittier vibe to it, but it's not as brightly colored as this game. It really felt more like a Persona game than anything else.
Yeah, but either way, we don't have a lot of information yet. Hopefully we're going to see more at E3. It looks cool. There are some people poo-pooing it on Twitter, which made me a little bit sad because we don't really know a lot about it. But that, and I mean, speaking of J-pop anime-type intros, trailers, the new Bravely the Second trailer that came out for the West also looks like an opening to an anime with a J-pop song playing. Also looks cool. But anyways, that was totally not in the Nintendo Direct. I am completely tangenting, so I'm going to go back to the notes, which, oh yes, more amiibo. We have to talk about this, Evan. We finally saw the first new permutation of amiibo, the card amiibo. They showed up, and they showed up for a franchise that we've been saying for episode after episode is just perfectly made for amiibo. Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is getting a new spin-off game called Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer, and it looks so cool. Except it is reliant upon additional purchases. You have to purchase card amiibo, and then these card amiibos, which have individual Animal Crossing characters on them, they bring with them pieces of furniture and furnishings, from what I can tell, that you use as a little hedgehog or porcupine home designer. You take the requests and you take the materials that you can work with from the card amiibo that you've scanned in, and you try to create the perfect interior design for a home for that character. And it just seems like straight out of Style Savvy. It's this fashion interior design concept. Actually, it's kind of also reminds me of the Street Pass games, the Flower Garden game. It's very much not a video game type of concept, unless you're thinking of The Sims or something like that. But it's Animal Crossing. It's something from Animal Crossing, and it's amiibo cards. I would totally be into it, but we only saw 3 cards revealed. We don't know exactly how the cards are being sold. Are you able to choose which cards you get, or are they sold in packs of 5 that you have no idea what's going to be inside of them, and it's like a trading card game? Who knows, but it is coming up. Evan, would you get into a game like this based on my scattered description?
Not necessarily. I kind of like I can't say much because we've never seen an Animal Crossing game like this, and I do enjoy the Animal Crossing series quite a bit, so I'm not going to write it off necessarily, but at first glance, I'm not taken with the idea, basically. But who knows? I mean, we kind of predicted there could be a new Animal Crossing, but we thought it'd be for Wii U. And could this be complementary to the Wii U version too? Is there something they're not telling us or whatnot with this game? Because then, if those amiibo cards also work with like a Wii U version of a fully fully fledged Animal Crossing game, that makes things even more interesting. So I feel like there's stuff we might not know about and how it relates to this game, and we might not know that until E3. So I'll be curious to see how it plays out.
Last but not least, we did get to see a sweet drive-through of one of the 8 new courses that's coming. That's coming with the next pack of Mario Kart 8 DLC, which is launching days earlier. It was originally supposed to launch in May. It is now launching in April 23rd, at least in North America. And we got to see a drive-through of the Animal Crossing track, which will have a randomly selected season every time you play it. So it could be spring, it could be summer, it could be fall or winter, which is really cool. It looks like a great track. I really, though, am hankering and hungering to see what all the other tracks are, because some incredible designs were used in the first DLC pack. You can still, if you haven't got on the fence, Evan, you can purchase both DLC packs at a discount, or if you really love Animal Crossing and want to be able to drive as Villager, and oh my gosh, I can see her face, her blonde ears. What's her name? The admin assistant. Isabel. Animal Crossing New Leaf, you can drive as her, and then also Dry Bones Bowser, and then there's a couple new carts. But then there's 8 new courses, that's what I'm talking about. We didn't get to see any of that, but they said we will be seeing more information on that soon. There's not much time left, Nintendo,
a few weeks
to release that, but I'm very happy and excited that this content is coming even earlier, and I can't wait to dive into it. And Evan, you should get it, because the first pack was good, and you should get both packs.
Oh my goodness. Maybe. We'll see. Can you voice chat in Mario Kart 8? Only with friends, right? And it's only in between races. It's going to be my new thing.
You can voice chat on a separate device using Skype.
There you go. I love when people give me that as their solution. Good. The new 200cc mode, I know, has a lot of people fired up. Got to go fast. So that'll be pretty nuts. That's kind of replacing F-Zero, I guess. They're like, now we'll really.
Exactly. That was my first reaction over on Twitter. It's like, this is the last nail in the coffin for F-Zero. It's like, not only have they created F-Zero gameplay concepts of driving on walls, driving upside down, they made an actual F-Zero track in the first DLC pack, and now you can go as fast as you can in F-Zero, so we don't need F-Zero anymore. It's just...
that's okay. It'll be okay. The one thing that, to make you happier, the one thing that we've left out that shouldn't be forgotten is Fatal Frame is coming last.
Yes! Yeah, that really surprised me. I thought that was fantastic. I totally thought that was a long shot. The original Wii, had a history of poorly received and poorly scored horror games that came out for that system, and I just felt that Fatal Frame, regardless of Nintendo owning the license or whatever, that this game was not going to come overseas, but it is, and it's great. I hope that the gamepad functionality is awesome for this game. You use the gamepad as your viewfinder for the camera, so you can zap the ghosts, and Fatal Frame games, if you haven't played them, can be really scary and creepy, especially if you haven't played one, but you like horror games. I would just blindly recommend this, because my first experiences with Fatal Frame games were very memorable and creepy and scary. So yeah, we're going to get that outside of Japan. How cool is that?
Yeah. See, I knew I could make you happy after you got bummed out about F-Zero.
This is just one big mood swing of an episode, but that is everything we're going to cover from the Nintendo Direct. We're running a little bit late. That happens sometimes with Nintendo Directs, but we don't want to overlook the great feedback we got from the episode last week where Don was on co-hosting with Evan. Evan, what did we hear from our wonderful audience?
Yeah, we've got one great email and a ton of great comments. But first, remember, if you want to hear your feedback here on the NF Show, the official video podcast for NF Magazine, you can email us at show@nfmagazine.com, or you can leave a comment right here on this video on YouTube. Let's start with the email, though, from Kasaki Project, who wrote, "My thoughts are this. There is no way Zelda Wii U isn't going to get Twilight Princessed. If NX is coming holiday 2016, there's no point for them not to bring Zelda Wii U to that platform as well. It's clear Wii U is going to get some cool stuff, but probably fade away in 2016. Wii U is sales-wise comparable to Sega Saturn or Dreamcast, and at the end of its life, it won't be at GameCube levels. I know it's a great system with great games, but it's always going to be a cult hit. It's a rough spot for this system. It'll always have a special place for people like us. I think in 5 to 10 years, people will be all about it like people are with GameCube. I wish people realized how good Nintendo is in the moment, but they don't.
That's a really good point that Kisaki Project brings up. You can even think of Majora's Mask as an example of this retrograde or retroactive love. I think Earthbound is another example of that too, where it's a title that was a cult hit, or it's a piece of hardware that was a cult hit like Dreamcast, and then years later the legacy just snowballs, becomes so huge. And she's like, why weren't you there to begin with so that this cool idea could have perpetuated more? We would have seen more of it. You're totally spot on there, Kisaki Project. I really wish that I was on the episode last week, speaking of Zelda Wii U, just so that I could say to Don, who insisted emphatically that no way the game would get delayed, because when you have that director on that game, he never lies and he always delivers on time. Like, that's not true this time. Evan, you were right. Good job.
Yeah, Zelda games always get delayed. It's not, especially the console ones. Handhelds, I think, fare a little better. But I love that the GameCube is. I still think the GameCube is one of the crappiest Nintendo platforms. My outlook has not changed. I lived through that platform. It has Metroid Prime, but I think Sunshine is one of the weaker 3D Marios, and that system died after after 2 years or whatever. That was a hard to suffer live through console. That almost killed my Nintendo home console love single-handedly. That was just it for people who actually experienced those 5 years. Those past couple of years were pretty brutal.
Yeah, because there was no shortage of love and coverage and really awesome games going to other systems. And then there was GameCube, and it's like, well, I love my Smash Brothers game, and I like the Metroid Prime games, and I like my exclusive Resident Evil titles, and okay, that's about it.
That console was front-loaded big time. Like Smash, Pikmin, Metroid Prime, Sunshine, and even Wind Waker. Those were all in the first 2 years of the console's life cycle. When you get into the later half, you have some just weird games. I'm sure they have like Odama, like the microphone. You have
all the weird Donkey Kong games.
Which I bought one of the Donkey Kong games. Yeah, it got pretty. I never bought Jungle Beat. That's supposed to be like a hidden gem. But man, the GameCube, I do not. I think it's a cool little box, but yeah. Let's move on to let's move on to comments. Excuse me. Our first comment's from the Seventh Experiment, who writes, "After a breathtaking direct, I'd like to share my tale of amiibo hunting. I had read online that GameStop would be accepting online pre-orders for the new amiibo a day after the direct, starting at noon Pacific time. So 15 minutes before then, I was setting up my computer and getting ready for war. Noon came and went, and the GameStop website went from not loading to completely shut down. I made a few calls to local GameStops and chose one that had the fewest people in line for amiibo. One of them had as many as 30 people waiting. By the time I got there, it was about 12:45 p.m., approximately half an hour of waiting in line. The cashier announced that Robin and Lucina were now sold out. I was very disappointed, but I knew it wasn't over yet. I had my eyes on that 3-pack of Splatoon amiibo. Eventually, it was my turn, and I managed to nab the 3-pack. While waiting for the computer to finish loading the screens, I discussed this situation with the cashier. He said that the article I read was misleading since they were never planning on starting with online pre-orders. They would only open pre-orders after 2 p.m. if there were any pre-orders left over after the in-store rush. It was quite the adrenaline rush, but I'm so happy I didn't walk home empty-handed. I'm going to have to interject because it wasn't just some news article. GameStop tweeted that they were going to have online pre-orders. So, screw GameStop. My goodness. Stuff drives me nuts.
Yeah.
They could have at least updated people on the situation if that's what was really going on Twitter or whatever.
And I learned the hard way. I actually did the same thing that Seventh Experiment did. So I set a reminder. I said, all right, get onto that website. Waste some time during the workday. It's so embarrassing. To pre-order some amiibo. And she's like, the website's down. And then there was all these tweet horror stories coming in. It's like, the computer system's down. And then somebody just got this really snarky know-it-all to like, why are you trying to... they clearly said they weren't going to pre-sell them on the website. I'm like, where did they say that? It's news to me. And I found out through these angry, snarky tweets that I wasn't going to be taking time off to go to GameStop to pre-order a $13 figurine, like Evan said earlier. So alas, so it goes.
Continue with the seventh experiment. I had a great opportunity to put in quite a few hours into Story of Seasons. One of my greatest worries when I bought this game was whether or not the makers decided to change some of the game mechanics. I had a huge issue with the past game making things so difficult and inconvenient. For example, number of clicks to get to my inventory and back. So my question this time is, did they improve on those things? I am happy to say they certainly did. They also improved on the visuals, which is an added bonus. The seventh experiment continued to say that there would be updated impressions of Stories of Seasons in future episodes, which I'm quite excited to hear about because that looks like quite the cool game.
Excellent.
Our next comment comes from Nintendo Dude GCN, who says, finally got my new 3DS XL all set up last weekend. The system transfer was a bit of a hassle, but it only took about 2.5 hours and went smoothly. The system itself is really nice and slick. I spent several hours playing Majora's Mask 3D, and the 3D is amazing. The C-Stick works well, too. I also found that the system was a lot lighter than I anticipated and fits well in my hands. My only real complaint is just the size. I can't easily put it into my pockets when I go out like my original 3DS. Nonetheless, I'm really enjoying the system, and it's a huge upgrade from my March 2011 launch 3DS that I was using. That's crazy. I'm always shocked when people are still using their OG 3DS. Back to the comment. Nice calls on the Nintendo Direct, guys. Looks like Splatoon and Yoshi will be the big summer hits. I honestly have no idea what is going to be the huge holiday title. To be honest, I really think Nintendo will try to bank on Star Fox and whatever next level games has in store for us. I'm really hoping they're working on a Punch-Out on Wii U. Also, how about the Wave 4 amiibos? I literally had a GameStop up on my computer at work and school all day so I could try to pre-order the one amiibo that I've been waiting for all this time, Ness. Of course, they never came online. By the time I got out of work and school for the day, in-store pre-orders were all gone. It's very frustrating that Nintendo can't even get amiibo right since this is the fourth wave now.
I agree, but I just also want to move on from that and say congratulations on your new 3DS XL. I'm happy to hear that you are enjoying it just as much as it sounds like Evan and I are enjoying ours.
Yeah. And I'm truly sorry about your NES, especially if you were looking forward to it more than me. That is truly a bummer. Our next comment comes from Benjamin A. Whoa, what a Nintendo Direct, huh? I'm sure there are those that think it was lackluster, but I personally really enjoyed it. Nothing spectacular, but some surprises nonetheless. I was particularly surprised at the inclusion of Lucas, Super Smash Bros. Character Ballot, Yarn Yoshi Amiibo, a 200cc mode in Mario Kart 8, and Shin Megami Crossfire Emblem is not dead. After watching the analysis video from Game Explain, I think even someone who hated on the trailer may come to appreciate things they did not catch initially. What I expected but was still very happy with was Amiibo and Splatoon, more Mario Kart 8 Mii costumes, Smash Bros. Mii costumes, and details on the new Fire Emblem. And I just want to interject, I love that there is now a Mega Man costume in Mario Kart 8. That gets 2 huge thumbs up from me. These thumbs. Back to the comment. I won't bother asking you about the Direct because you'll talk about it in depth this episode. Instead, I will ask if anyone still plays Animal Crossing New Leaf. I have had a second win recently. I've also had more buddies to play with online than ever before, even one newbie who is now obsessed. Noah, you've been playing any New Leaf recently? Or you basically swore it off, didn't you, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I kind of did. When I mentioned that backlog of 3DS games, going back to Animal Crossing is not in there. I loved Animal Crossing while I experienced it. It was my first Animal Crossing game that I actually got into, that I played, and I played a lot of hours in it. And every once in a while, when I saw this comment, I was like, oh yeah, I wonder what that game was like during the winter time. I wonder what it was like in those other seasons that I never played it, because it was pretty much a summertime game for me. I never saw it, but I did enjoy seeing some people out in the audience, some of the most amazing towns, these people who would excel at Happy Home Designer because they've done so much incredible work creating landscapes and cool houses. I can't wait to see what they make in this new Happy Home Designer game, assuming that they get into it. I think they will. But yeah, I don't know. It almost made me nostalgic for it, Benjamin, but not enough yet.
Yeah, I don't know if I could go back, but I'm like you. I wish I kind of played during the winter. I've played Animal Crossing games basically all the seasons because I've played each one since the GameCube version came out back in the day. But I've got like Fire Emblem Awakening, or I still need to finish Majora's Mask, but I'm currently obsessed with Box Boy. So yeah, I've got too many fires going right now. But I'd be curious, Benjamin, with you all excited about New Leaf, what you thought of the new Animal Crossing, and if you're excited about that.
Yeah.
Our next comment comes from Old School 1990s. I am officially throwing in the towel on the amiibo hunt until there is a way for me to buy the figures I want without waiting in line to pre-order something or going to specific retailers. I still want to collect all the amiibo. I just think the whole situation is ridiculous.
Preach.
You're here, and that's. When I talked about I'm not going to go to GameStop to pre-order. Hopefully I wasn't too. I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm just saying for me that's not what I'm gonna. I don't even go into pre-order like $60 games. It took me until the last week to get a 3DS XL. I'm just not someone who, in this day and age, feels like I need to go into a store to pre-order something. I'm lazy. I wanna click it.
I hear you.
Uh,
I'm there with you.
okay.
Well, that's how I got my Little Mac. I got my Little Mac days, maybe even a week after it initially went on sale, and I got towed with minimal effort. I wasn't waiting for a specific time to happen. I just went on Amazon, I clicked it, and moved on. And it's just this was
Throw him
so
back
much.
behind my right shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. And this one was so remarkable, and that not a single one. I mean, I wanted a bunch of different amiibo in this setup. I wanted to pre-order a
Okay.
whole bunch of them, and I couldn't get a single one of them. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous. So
that is.
it's like, wow, those are victories. I guess I should cherish them for the rest of my life because never again shall they happen.
Yeah, and I want to say that you can. I just want to clarify. I get that you can have fun going into a store and pre-ordering, especially with
Oh
friends. I've
yeah.
definitely waited in my long lines of pre-ordering stuff to do that kind of stuff. So I want to hear more stories. But anyway, back to old school 1990s. Who benefits from retailer exclusivity? Who benefits from consumers pre-ordering? I know it's not me. I think Nintendo needs to fix the supply problem soon or risk burning their most dedicated fans. I'm not
Hmm.
even mad at scalpers. They are a system of the problem, not the cause. What are your thoughts on pre-ordering and retailer exclusivity in gaming-related products? Good luck to anyone who still has it in them to keep on with the hunt. Well, no, I feel like I talked about the retailer exclusivity
Yeah.
earlier. I mean, that's going to benefit both the retailer and Nintendo. It doesn't necessarily help us as consumers. As for pre-ordering, I'm okay with pre-ordering, but make it available online, I feel like, or do it in waves at the very least. So
Yeah.
people at different times. I mean, Toys R Us did them in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Lame.
I mean, I feel like it, it's hard to come up with a win-win situation, but I think at least multiple times or more retailers holding them could help it. But I'm like you, old school 1990s. I'm just out, and I wasn't even really in to begin with. I have two amiibo, so for people who had all of them, and now like that chain has been broken with Wave 4 so far, I can't imagine how disheartening that is. Our final comment comes from friend of the show, Brett Martin, who says, feeling dismal over the Amiibo pre-order situation. I had such high hopes that the small delay would mean more stock and better opportunity for fans to nab them. Now we have articles across the internet slamming Nintendo. I think we now have a situation where the Amiibo are creating less excitement and more hatred.
Hmm.
Yeah. And Brett finishes, as for Zelda, very few people I know are surprised by the news. I'm just sad it won't be at E3.
But in its place, Brett inevitably will be something amazing. At least that's what I like.
Uh, I don't think that necessarily means something in its place will be amazing. I disagree with that statement.
Yeah, but you're already like poo-pooing on Star Fox. You expect that to stink, and that could be the amazing game. It's clearly, apparently, that's the holiday replacement for Zelda. But
I don't.
it could be cool.
Yeah, I'm not trying to poo-poo. I'm just saying with Zelda being delayed, I think it's very questionable to think that there's something there to rest in its
Well,
place to be.
yeah, there won't be anything. I doubt there could be, but I do doubt there's something that's the equivalent of what we've seen so far of Zelda. There could be, but that's such a long shot, and I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah. I
But
think
there
we could.
should be still cool stuff.
I will be shocked if Star Fox is their November title. Purely, you know what? I'll make a prediction right here. Star Fox will no
Oh,
way be
oh,
their November holiday title. That's the Friday before Thanksgiving. No way.
and
And
it's
if
got a
it
winter timeline.
yeah, no way. That's like a December game or October-ish or whatever. If there's no way that's their big November game. I can't even.
Star Fox and Project Robot.
Like I get it. It's like this is Miyamoto's like pet project, and maybe it has Project Guard, and it's gonna be like some big. We're finally using the gamepad pitch or whatever, but no way. Animal Crossing, a Mario, or something else. I know Mario Maker is September, but yeah.
Okay, there you
Yeah.
go. There you go.
Yep. Write it in stone, folks.
I'm going to make a prediction right here, right now.
That's its subtitle. Star Fox. No way. No way. I do not buy it. Do you think that that's it? Star Fox is the
Unless
replacement?
there's a surprise title in the wings, which has happened in the past. Yes.
I think they'll just release more amiibo. Instead of a game, they should just release amiibo. And they're so hard to find, it's like a game in itself. And it kind of keeps people distracted from.
Yeah. Well, it could be maybe something like a Mario Galaxy HD re-release. Throw that in there too.
I hope it's Amiibo Hunt, where it's not only now is it finding them, it's like a virtual game where there's rare ones. It's like an RPG or whatever, really hard to find.
You have to pick different stores in the mall. You have to run around like which one's going to have the shortest pre-order line.
Yeah.
You have to make it. It's a gamble. They might sell out if you stand in this line. It looks shorter, but then their computer system goes down.
Oh yeah, you bring in kind of the persona.
Yeah, it's a
The
dungeon
time
grind.
like you've got to pick how you're gonna spend your time. You better spend your time wisely. Maybe they'll work with Atlas on it. This would be a great crossover game.
so so bad.
Well, that is all for the feedback. It was fantastic as always. Please keep us updated on your amiibo situation. We love hearing about it, and we know that you all are addicted to them anyway. So, especially Noah, who's got his set behind him there.
Yeah. I haven't discussed my new amiibo, but I'll do that next week.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear about that. And let us know what other new games you're playing and what you're excited about. And if you agree with me, there is no way Star Fox is the holiday title. Just the thought of that, I can't see that happening.
Believe it, Evan. Believe it.
When was the last? I wish we knew. I wish we could look it up, and maybe someone can write in. When was the last time? And I'm guessing it was maybe possibly with Wii. When was the last time Nintendo had a holiday season where it wasn't basically a Mario, Zelda, Smash Brothers type game as their like November title? It's like their holiday title.
I wish I had that off the top of my head. I'm sure if I thought about it, I could remember it.
We can go back pretty far pretty quickly because last year was Smash Brothers, and then on 3DS it was Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
The year before that it was Super Mario 3D World and A Link Between Worlds on 3DS.
That was an awesome year.
The year before that it was the Wii U came out and it was New Super Mario Brothers U, and then on 3DS it was Paper Mario, possibly.
Oh, you mean Sticker Star?
Yeah. That was that was the big November, which, you know what, Paper Mario could be the other Mario game coming to Wii U that we didn't bring up.
Yeah, we haven't seen one of those in a while.
2011, it was Super Mario 3D World and The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword.
So wait, what? Super Mario 3D World?
3D Land.
3D Land. Oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah. And then it was Skyward Sword was 2011.
Yeah.
And then 2010 is where it starts to get. I start to fade on my memory of what games, because that would have been DS's like last year, Last Time in the Sun, and that would have been Wii's. I have no idea what it would have been in 2010.
Or wasn't
Oh,
it Country Returns? Donkey Kong Country?
yeah, it was Donkey Kong Country Returns.
And check me out remembering a game I don't like.
I love Donkey Kong Country
I
Returns.
know.
You're crazy. That was a good year. 2010, there's like GoldenEye. You got your Kirby Epic
Yeah, the
Yarn in
Kirby.
October. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But
thank you
that
very
just
much, Evan.
Star Fox, no way. Just all of that.
It's been a long time since. I don't know if there's ever been a time where Star Fox has come out around the holiday timeline.
I don't
It's been
think
a long.
so.
It's usually I think of it as a spring or a summer game.
Star Fox 64 was like the biggest release, I feel like, and that's because it came with the Rumble Pack. Your control, and that was mind-blowing stuff, by the way, if you weren't around back then.
It was. It was really cool.
I think I was 10 or 11, and I was just. And sometimes you'd like put the controller down after you beat a boss in like on your coffee table, and you just watch the like controller like rumble across. And you're like, oh yeah, it moves.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Evan, for trying to emphasize your point there. Much appreciated. We will see what the audience says about that. As before, you can leave a comment under this video. You can send us an email to show@nfmagazine.com, or you can also follow us or tweet us over on Twitter. NF Magazine's official Twitter is @NintendoForce. Now, if you're interested in following your lovely hosts, I am @This Is Noah, and Evan is @Evan Campbell. There's something about last week's Nintendo Direct that flipped the Twitter switch back on for me. I'm normally pretty quiet and just kind of keep it to NF Show tweets, but that's because, frankly, Twitter is a huge time suck. But it's like I'm going to do it again. I'm going to start tweeting. So yeah, follow me as well as Evan, and you'll hear what we have to say, what our reactions are to general video game things across the week. And the NF magazine, Nintendo Nintendo Force, will give you updates on all things related to the magazine. We look forward to seeing you on there, or just seeing you again next week. You can subscribe to us on YouTube or on iTunes. You can leave us reviews over on iTunes. We love all that stuff, and we look forward to talking to you again next week. Until then, have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.